thanks to the Supreme Court decision of exactly 1 year ago, we gave those who have long been fighting for a pro-life cause negotiating power for the first time ever. You have tremendous negotiating power. Now, with Roe v. Wade, you had none.
How dare they attack our fundamental rights? The United States Congress must pass legislation to restore the protections of Roe v. Wade.
1 year after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, the debate over abortion is as hot as it has ever been. Let's talk about it all in this week's Politics with our roundtable. Former DNC Chair Donna Brazile, former RNC Chair and Trump White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus, Washington Post congressional reporter Mariana Sotomayor, and NPR White House correspondent Asma Khalid. So, Reince, let me start with you. And we heard from Christie. I mean, a blunt takedown of Donald Trump. Is Trump ever going to actually get on a debate stage with that guy?
Well, I will tell you, those are the kinds of interviews that will entice President Trump to get on the debate stage.
Really?
And Governor Christie knows it, and that's what he wants. And I think it'll happen. And I think, you know, we're in the world of, you know, middle finger politics in America, the world of WrestleMania politics, the world where, you know, attention is what everyone is seeking in order to get support, in order to get those 40,000 donors, in order to get votes in these states. But I'll tell you what the campaigns are talking to me about. There are two things. One, qualifying for the debate stage, which is what everyone's trying to do. Governor Christie's found a lane, and he's doing well in that lane of qualifying for the debate stage. But then there's the second thing, which is, how do I understand how delegates are awarded in this party? Because delegates choose the nominees. And if you look at understanding the delegate rules, which is what all these candidates are doing, that's why they're focusing on Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina. But then there is a national play here, because then comes 17 states on a winner-take-all. And that's why when you look at the polling today, Trump is still ahead by 30 national, at least 20 in those early states. Those state rules and those candidates are watching that very closely today.
Donna.
First of all, the twice impeached, twice indicted former president of the United States do not need a debate stage. Let's clear the air out of the balloon. Donald Trump.
I mean, usually when you're 40 points up or 30 points up, you don't debate.
I mean, why would you debate? And look, I'm now taking a position that Donald Trump has taken, which is, why would I give these other cats, I'm not calling them dogs, because, of course, I have a dog, and I know none of my dog would not want to be compared to them. But why would you give these cats an opportunity to take you down or to hit you when you're that high in the polls? I see no reason why Donald Trump should agree to debate, because he has the lane to himself. This is his nomination to lose. And the only thing he will do by debating is to elevate the people who are now in the, quote unquote, in the hole.
Right, but you're assuming, you know, you're talking as a political strategist. I understand that. But from Donald Trump's viewpoint, number one, he looks back at 2016. He says, number one, I won all these debates, number one. And number two, I'm going to continue winning, and I'm going to take these guys down even further. That's how he sees it.
I mean, on one hand, of course, he loves the spotlight, but he also does hold back when the fight is right to him. He's much better attacking people from afar.
That's right.
than taking the fight directly to somebody. What's the expectation? I mean, you heard Christie make the case that he's gained traction with this, Mariana. Do you think he really can?
He said he gained traction in New Hampshire. That's just one state of many, especially when you're pointing out just all of those states that come after those early states. I mean, are there people... He made the argument for character. And there definitely are voters, especially that we heard around the midterm, saying, listen, I am a Republican. At the end of the day, if it comes to voting for Trump, okay. But the biggest thing that they always point out is character, that he's unreliable. You just don't know what he's going to say or do next. If they could change something about Trump, that would be it. But we just... we know and we've seen that that's just not necessarily something that's going to completely tank his chances.
I also think that the more crowded this field becomes, it really does advantage Donald Trump. We saw during the 2016 election, and this seems like almost exactly the same playbook now. You've got, what, a dozen Republicans who are in the field. That just chips away. I mean, if they each get 1% or 2%, maybe, right? I mean, that benefits Donald Trump. And I think we're going to talk more about this, I'm sure, abortion, but over the weekend, there was the Faith and Freedom Coalition conference. Donald Trump was welcomed like the hero for having given the court, right? I mean, and so there you have this large constituency, a key constituency of the Republican Party that is more loyal today to Donald Trump than it was, I would think, even 4 years ago.
And the other candidates are tied up in knots with how to deal with them. I want to play a bit of sound. This is what Ron DeSantis said when he was asked if he would commit to supporting Trump if Trump were the nominee.
Regardless of his attacks, will you 100% pledge to support Trump as a GOP nominee?
So what I would say is this. When you are saying that Cuomo did better on COVID than Florida did, you are revealing yourself to just be full of it.
I mean, that's wild because not only did he not say yes that he would support the nominee if it were Trump, regardless, as he goes on to, and it went on and on and on to attack Donald Trump. I mean, is that going to work? It's not as blunt or as maybe effective as Chris Christie, but, you know, and ultimately he says, of course, he's going to support whoever can beat Biden.
Right. I mean, it's this, all of these candidates are trying to find a way where they can attack Trump without naming him. That's something that we saw over the weekend. And it's a very difficult line for them to play because, again, they know that this is Trump's base, that Trump does animate them, that his policies are something that a lot of these voters rely on. So going after him could be pretty difficult for all of these candidates.
Yeah, and the policies, because you hear this line often, I support Trump's policies from Republicans, but I just don't like the drama, those that are critical. But I want to play this from Bret Baier's interview with Donald Trump on the question of criminal justice reform.
But she'd be killed under your plan. Huh? As a drug dealer.
No. Under that, it would depend on the severity. It would depend on the severity.
She's technically a former drug dealer. She had multi-million-dollar cocaine ring.
Any drug dealer, look.
So even Alice Johnson in that ad?
No, but they're starting now, yeah. But she wouldn't have done it if it was death penalty.
I mean, so he's talking about Alice Johnson, who he pardoned and bragged about in a Super Bowl ad, and now, well, maybe she'd be I mean, is there really a coherent Trump policy?
I don't know that it matters whether there's a coherent Trump policy, because I would say there's a constituency within the Republican Party that doesn't like the drama, but there's a constituency, and I've met them, sure we all have gone out and talked to voters like this, who really like the bravado, who like the style and the character. And so when you've got a dozen Republicans running, I would say enough will likely like the style. And I don't know how much the policies really matter.
He sounded like a human pretzel because he couldn't get his words right. He couldn't put it together in his big mind of his, a genius that we never saw, but he didn't know what he was talking about. Let me just tell you something. If I was Trump lawyer or counsel, I would have said, baby, you don't need to do those shows.
I mean, they've been saying that for a long time.
Well, they're not listening.
Okay, so I want to get, we had the 1-year anniversary of Dobbs, and we've seen a dramatic impact in the United States when it comes to abortion policy. Take a look at the map of the U.S. We now have effectively illegal abortion in 14 states. We have, and Florida's not even on there in this regard in terms of states that will have a 6-week abortion ban, because Florida's ban is not in effect yet. But this is a dramatic change in abortion policy in this country just a year after this decision.
300, can you imagine? It's been a total mess, I think, and given this issue to the state. First of all, we should trust women and women of faith to make this decision with their family, but to lose access, especially women in several of those states that you just put up. They are afraid to go to the emergency room, even when they are sick, because they're afraid that they will be turned away, and they have been turned away. And women in certain states have to drive several days just to get to the next available clinic. This is a decision that should be made between women and their doctors and their families. And the politics that I've been hearing, especially after watching the Faith and Freedom Conference, I said, I need an exorcism now, because I heard so many lies. about women and how women make this decision. This is why President Biden has recommitted himself to fighting for women's access to have the full range of reproductive health care. This is why the vice president, who's a great vice president, Kamala Harris, has said, you know, that she will also fight for women access and including access to contraception.
But Asma, on the politics of this, the country's divided on abortion. But the extreme positions on either side, including where we see the Republicans going, is not a majority position in this country. Yeah. So how worried are Republicans about how this will play out? It hurt them in 2022, it seemed to.
Yeah, I mean, I think there seems to be some disagreement amongst Republicans about how popular of a position this is, right? We saw Mike Pence over the weekend calling for a nationwide abortion ban and encouraging his fellow Republican 2024 contenders to join him in having a 15-week abortion ban. Look, I think the politics have just fundamentally shifted. When Roe was the law of the land, it was far easier for Republicans to point at that and say, we don't want that. And then Democrats had to be on the defensive. Now that equation has entirely flipped. And, you know, Democrats are very eager. This White House thinks this is a very politically popular position for them to be in heading into 2024 because they don't have to articulate what they're for. They can just point at the Republicans.
There's a 70% place on this issue, and that's that Americans support a 15-week first trimester abortion ban. Part of the problem is in a lot of these battleground
ban on abortion
states,
after the first trimester.
A lot of these battleground states, they have.
I mean, that's not where a lot of these states are. I mean, that's not where Florida.
That's my point. They don't have a lot of these states like Wisconsin. They don't have a law in the books. When Scott Walker was governor of Wisconsin with the Republican legislature, they passed a 20-week ban, which would have resolved the problem in Wisconsin. Here's the other part. You talk about the politics. The Democrats have gotten very, very good in these battleground states where you only have 2% of the voters that are deciding all of these elections now in all of these states. They're micro-targeting in places like Madison. They're paying, you know, $400. Here's 10 people to go get them to the polls, and you get 10 people, and you get 10 people, and it's all about abortion. And without having an answer on the other side, without stumbling and bumbling your way through the campaign trail, I mean, you are going to get beat unless there's a clear answer on this issue from Republicans across the country.
And Democrats think this will be a winning issue for them.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they've already seen so many different elections on the local level, state level, and obviously during the midterms, where we have seen just a lot of enthusiasm from the Democratic base. I do want to say one thing we won't be seeing anytime soon on Capitol Hill is a federal ban.
A national ban, yeah. There's not the
It's
votes
just
for
not
it.
gonna
It's the
happen.
bottom line. All right, thank you very much.